What you know, Alibis? Welcome to another episode of Pretty Lies and Alibis. I'm Gigi. It's Thursday, September 25th. Hope you guys are having a good day so far. We're going to continue into our deep dive from beginning to where we are now in the Barry MORPHEW case. We're working off of the big document that was released after his second arrest, which, by the way, Barry has been released on a $3 million bond this week. It's being reported that friends and supporters posted $300,000 to a bondsman to secure his release. I'm hoping to get in a second episode today. It may not be very long, but I do want to keep updating on what we know in the David and Celeste Rivas Hernandez case. Mainly, this is going to be to debunk some rumors that are going around online that are proven to be false, because a lot of times when there is a crime and there's been no arrests and really not a lot of answers, people are naturally going to speculate, but it's really important to debunk these rumors because it just gets wild out there, y'all. Let's keep continuing in this document. Barry statements about May 9th through 10th. On May the 9th, Barry said he worked a job in Salida. And after that job, he said he and Suzanne texted and talked about going hiking. She also told him to buy hot tub chemicals. Their last text was between 11 a.m. and noon. He says at 2:26 p.m. he texted her that he was finished and coming home. At some point, Suzanne asked him to take her bike and her helmet out of her car, which he says he did. That night, they cooked steaks and never looked at the clock. He said it's actually one of the best nights we've had in a while because there were no chemicals in Suzanne. He said they put their phones aside, and he explained on Saturday evening they had dinner together, had sex, and then went to bed. He couldn't specify a time, but believed it was around after 8 p.m., and neither he nor Suzanne left the residence that night. He said he did load his truck that evening because he was going to Broomfield to get eyes on a job site to see what was needed. On May 10th, which is the day Suzanne was reported missing, he said he set his alarm for 4:30 a.m. In a footnote, it says that Barry changed his statement to CBI in 2020 and the FBI in 2021 multiple times about the alarm to match evidence. Barry said when his alarm went off, Suzanne was still asleep and she was snoring. He showered and left the house at 5 a.m. He said he last saw Suzanne wearing short white shorts and a white string-type shirt. In a footnote, it says Barry changed this last sighting of Suzanne through 20 and 21 numerous times. Barry says he traveled to a Holiday Inn and checked himself into the hotel. He went to the room for a short period of time and then rested after the drive. From there, he went to the work site. In a footnote, all statements in this paragraph are later proven false. After looking at the work site, he said he called Morgan, who worked for him, and asked her to bring another person. He got to the job site around 10-ish and said it was just a hotel, a job, and back and forth. He went to a McDonald's near the job site and cleaned his windshield, then returned to the job site. When asked if he ate that day, he said, I kind of looked for something to eat. He said he always kept granola bars in his truck. He said there was a McDonald's, so he pulled in there, but I don't like crap food, so I thought I'm not going to eat here, and says he ended up eating granola bars. While on the job site, his neighbor, Mrs. Ritter, called and said their daughter still couldn't reach Suzanne. He asked her to go check the house because she knew the code to get inside. She found Suzanne's car, but not her bike. Barry said he and his daughters texted Suzanne Happy Mother's Day earlier, and the girls had not received a reply. He also said there's no cell service at the house unless they are on the HughesNet Wi-Fi. I looked that up. That is a satellite-based company for areas with little or no cell phone reception. Barry stated, I was at the job site when Mrs. Ritter called me, which was around 5 p.m. Barry said he was at the job site when Mrs. Ritter called him around 5 p.m. He then left and drove to the hotel where he dropped off the tools in the lobby. He then drove directly back to Salida. There is a footnote. On April 22nd, 2021, FBI agents showed Barry surveillance photos of him being in his hotel room and not at the job site when Mrs. Ritter called him at 5 p.m. Barry initially said there were no issues in their marriage, but later in the interview, he admitted they did fight. He said Suzanne had been battling stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma several times in her life, and the most recent battle began in late 2019. He said Suzanne was receiving maintenance treatments at the cancer center. He said Suzanne started using drugs and alcohol, which would sometimes lead to arguments, and Suzanne would accuse Barry of being controlling. He said her demeanor was hateful. The last argument they had was that Friday morning. He denied any physical abuse or altercations between the two of them, and in a footnote, it says Barry went from perfect marriage, perfect Friday night to admitting that they fought often. Barry said that their daughters did not know about Suzanne's substance abuse and demanded that not be disclosed to them. He said he deleted text messages between him and Suzanne from his cell phone so the girls wouldn't get his phone and see them. Other statements from the May 13th, 2020 interview include, I just know there's nothing in my truck. There's nothing in my house. I know for a fact, unless somebody came there Saturday morning after I left. I'm just being honest with you. But are you, Barry? He said that law enforcement can be there for 10 weeks and they will never find a single thing, which did not age well, and we will get to that in a moment. He suggested Cody Cox as a suspect, alleging Cody had threatened to kill Barry previously. Barry consistently asked throughout the interviews why he had not been cleared in the investigation. He also suggested someone whose last name is Cushman's cleaning lady's daughter and boyfriend as possible suspicious persons. He said because if somebody went in and did something and took her and then ditched her bike to make it look like something, then I want you guys to find that evidence. However, he states multiple times, there's nothing in the house, nothing in my truck. Barry said that Suzanne would get so angry sometimes and even hateful, which is not her. He said during these arguments, Suzanne stated, I'm going to leave you, I'm going to divorce you, and she doesn't mean it. I know she doesn't mean it, but in that state of mind. When asked about working on Sunday, he said it's Mother's Day. It's not like it's husband's day. He said he was on the work site until probably 6 p.m., and then he talked about Mrs. Ritter, who told him her bike wasn't there. Barry told Mrs. Ritter he pulled Suzanne's bike out of her car and said, well, she's riding her bike, but I'm a little concerned because I think she said she was going to take a morning ride. In regards to inspecting the clothing, Barry stated, yeah, she doesn't ride without a helmet, and she has a light blue helmet. Her favorite biking outfit is blue. I haven't been to the house to see if it's there or not, but if you guys didn't find it, then that's probably what she was wearing. Was the blue one missing? Light blue helmet, light blue outfit. She's a matcher. Light blue shirt, but that was in her closet, or did you guys find it? When asked about the bedding in the daughter's room, he said he saw sheets in the dryer, and then he asked if the whole bedding was off. Barry was asked to take a polygraph, and he declined, but said he would think about it because he didn't want to do anything that wasn't 100% accurate, and he said polygraphs were not admissible in court. Scratches were observed on Barry's upper arm, and Barry said, yeah, like that from a tree in, when we were hiking in the mountains. Footnote says the injuries appeared to be healing and several days-old scratches. The next interview was on May 21st. They wanted to go over the victimology packet of Suzanne's prepared by the Behavioral Analysis Unit of the FBI. Some notes from the interview. Barry said, I just wish that you knew how amazing she was, which they point out referred to Suzanne in the past tense. And according to Barry, Suzanne began to abuse antidepressants and alcohol to get away from the stress and anxiety of dealing with chemo and cancer. He said it's the only thing we argued about. And he mentioned some arguments they had in text messages. He added, when she was in that mind, it wasn't her. He said it was Suzanne who wanted to move from Indiana to Colorado and not him. He said, we men need sex. That's all we need, and we'll be good. He said he begged her to stop taking the pills, and Suzanne got mean and angry. He said Suzanne had friends she kept from him, evidenced by her attempting to text someone and her saying it was none of his business and it was private. Barry said Suzanne gave him the passcode to access her phone, but he found it suspicious why she didn't tell him of some of her communications. He gave Suzanne $300 to $400 a week for spending, and he said she never went to the ATM. Barry was the ATM. And I'm just pointing out here, again, he talks about her in the past tense. He said he didn't feel bad leaving her on Mother's Day because he thought the girls would be home around lunchtime. Suzanne's alcohol consumption increased after the girls left town on May 6th because she didn't have to hide it from her daughter that still lived at home. As far as the Friday night before her disappearance, he said they jumped in the car and went to Moonlight Pizza. They got pizza and a salad and ate the pizza in the car and brought it home to eat. Maybe they ate some of the pizza on the way home and then later ate the salads. Saturday, May 9th, he said he got up early, probably had to put a few tools in my truck, and Suzanne thanked him for the breakfast, and she was perfectly normal. She gave him a kiss goodbye, and the evening was great. He told Suzanne that he would be home soon and they could go bike riding or hiking or something. It was a perfectly normal day, and she was in a perfectly good mood. Nothing out of the ordinary happened on Saturday, and again, he said it was a perfect day. He said he didn't pay attention to if she was drinking because he just wanted to have a good night with her. That Saturday, he said they grilled steaks and didn't leave the house after he returned home. They laid on the patio in the sun, and Suzanne had made soup for lunch. He said he left his phone alone because he wanted a nice evening with his wife. Suzanne also talked to Barry that night about buying a house in town for $800,000. Suzanne was not on her phone that night that he knew of. When asked if they went to bed together, he said, "I'm pretty sure we do," and later, "I'm pretty sure we went to sleep together that night." Suzanne didn't leave the house after they had sex and went to sleep. When asked if he used his phone to set an alarm at 4:30 a.m., he said he just woke up on his own without an alarm. CBI agents asked Barry why he answered sex as the number one reason why someone might be motivated to cause Suzanne to disappear on the Behavioral Analysis Unit questionnaire. And Barry said, "Because my wife is beautiful. And that's my nightmare right now. Like if somebody's got her and sexually abusing her right now as we speak." Agents told Barry that workers who came into his hotel room after his departure on May 10th commented the room smelled like chlorine. Barry said he had no idea why, but maybe it was hotel staff using that to clean due to COVID. Agents also asked Barry about documents that were left in the room and asked if he took any documents into the room. He said, "Not to my knowledge. There was somebody in the room after me. It could have been his." In a footnote, it says in April of 2021, Barry told a different story about the documents to FBI agents. When asked why he didn't pick up his employee Morgan for the drive to Broomfield, Barry said, "Because she smokes, and I told her I wanted her to drive her car. She was just going to follow me." From his interview on May 28th, he was asked about the tranquilizer darts at his house. He said it was to tranquilize bucks to sell them. I looked this up, and what he would do apparently is tranquilize the bucks and cut off their antlers to sell. Barry said the bucks can be placed in a trailer that has cubicles, and the tranquilizer is a sedative/narcotic, and he only did the tranquilizing and selling of the bucks in Indiana. He said he had not used the tranquilizers or dots in Colorado. In a footnote, it says this statement contradicts Barry's admissions to the FBI in 2021 of using tranquilizer darts and disposing of the evidence. And in some later interviews, we will get into Barry admitting that he was shooting animals from the house. And also, something else we will get into later on is after Suzanne's remains were found, her autopsy showed that in samples from her bones, she had BAM in her system. That is an acronym for a combination of tranquilizers that I will very much butcher if I try to say. So it's BAM. By the way, that was her cause of death. So what is BAM? BAM is a very powerful tranquilizer that only licensed veterinarians can prescribe. And just a reminder, investigators found empty darts, a dart package, and a dart needle during a search of the home. And here's the kicker. Barry was the only private citizen living in that area of Colorado with access to BAM. That is huge. Moving back to when he had been originally arrested, there was a preliminary hearing in January of 2022 where prosecutors laid out their theory of the case, which is on the afternoon of May 9th, 2020. Barry loaded a syringe for a tranquilizer dart, put his phone on airplane mode, and then shot Suzanne with the dart. He then chased her around the house until the tranquilizer took effect. Back to the interview, Barry said Suzanne had been abusing alcohol and drugs since the first summer they were there, which would have been the summer of 2018. In a footnote, it says that Suzanne's affair with Jeff began in late spring or early summer of 2018. Barry said he thought Suzanne had been abducted, and the investigators told Barry the last time there had been an abduction in the area was in 1980. They also told Barry that Suzanne had minimal exposure in the community and other low-risk factors and stabilizers in her life. They told Barry this looked like an intimate partner homicide, and Barry did not object. Barry was asked why he only wrote convict for his response on what should happen to the person responsible for Suzanne's disappearance. He said it should be convicted and held responsible. I mean, that's not what I wanted to write, but inside me, I feel like I would like to physically harm them if they did this to my wife. But when Barry was asked about the last image of Suzanne, he initially replied he did not see her on the morning of May 10th or remember a last image. The investigator walked Barry through his prior statements of seeing Suzanne and describing her clothing. Barry was asked multiple times what his last image of her was, and he didn't answer the question. But finally, to elicit some response, the investigator asked if he even remembered seeing a lump of covers in his bed before he left for Broomfield, and Barry replied, probably just the lump there. Detail is, remember her breathing. Regarding Friday, May 8th, just a couple of days before she was reported missing, he said, but in the afternoon, it was like it never happened, and he is referring to this text message fight they had. Suzanne texted me back, and it was just like, hey, what time are you coming home? Hey, this or that. Just pick up this or pick up that. The afternoon of Saturday, May 9th, Barry said when he arrived home, Suzanne had vegetable soup waiting for them. He said that they just kind of sat out in the sun, talked, and had a good day. They decided to grill steaks out that evening. He said she was perfectly fine because there was no alcohol in her. In a footnote, it says Barry would later tell investigators Suzanne was drunk when he was shown her last proof-of-life photo she sent to Jeff at 2:03 p.m. that Saturday. For that Friday evening, Barry said they probably watched TV, and Suzanne is usually on her computer. She's typically on the computer, maybe doing a class online. She always looks for clothes online. He added she did not apologize about the text that morning. It was like nothing ever happened. For Saturday morning, May 9th, Barry said he did not set an alarm or remember what time he got up. He said he made him and Suzanne breakfast and set that next to her bed. He said, I think I made bacon, eggs, and toast. For that Saturday, he said when he got home, Suzanne had a bowl of soup ready for him, and they talked about going hiking or biking. They spent that day together, sat outside in the sun, and talked for an hour. He said, I honestly don't recall what we did after that, meaning the soup, but I think we hiked here in the subdivision. Yeah, we did hike. Then twice, he said, I'm pretty sure that's the night we hiked to Foose's. I know we sat down at the lake for a while. I'd say we were gone for an hour and a half, maybe. It was actually a good day. She didn't drink at all. It was a normal, nice afternoon. Barry said he got back to the house around 3 or 4. They talked about dinner, and she said she was going to make some potatoes. Barry said he would marinate the steaks, and he said, I'm probably in the garage. He said, I usually tinker around there, killing time. He added Suzanne was probably doing sheets, and then he added their daughter's bed was a free-for-all while he was in the garage tinkering. After dinner, Suzanne did the dishes, and he went back to the garage fixing the pin on the Bobcat. Barry said as far as May the 10th, I think I recall seeing 4:15-ish when I got up and knowing that, hey, if I leave at 5, I'll get there at 8. I probably got up, took a shower, got my clothes on. He said Suzanne was naked the last time he saw her, so he did not know what she was wearing. He went into the dryer looking for socks and saw some of Suzanne's clothes in the dryer. A pair of her shorts was in there. The next interview was from June 17th. He was asked if there was anything that may have been a first for Suzanne. Barry said she started taking THC and CBD edibles and oils about a month before she left. She was getting that from a guy in Westcliff named Tim, and Barry could provide the contact number, which he did. In the footnote, it says there is an interview with Timothy, and it also says Barry purchased CBD oil from him in 2019. Barry separately said Suzanne was buying drugs off the street and cited that the person from whom she was buying drugs from is a viable suspect for her disappearance. Here is my question. Why would you buy edibles off the street when marijuana is legal in Colorado and there are dispensaries at every corner? Makes no sense at all. Moving on to the next interview, June 25th, Barry said that Suzanne's family was involved in marijuana and maybe they were responsible for her disappearance. He said Suzanne's sister Melinda was, quote, wicked, and her brother David was smart enough to do something like this because he's brilliant. And after suggesting her siblings as potential suspects, Barry says sometimes when people are guilty, they point the finger because of their guilt. In a footnote, it says Barry made similar statements again in an interview on July 1st, 2020. Barry said that Melinda and David appeared to be pointing the finger at him and stated, "So I don't understand why they're doing that unless they're guilty. But sometimes people that are guilty say, hey, he did it. He did it. He did it. He did it." And in the footnote, it says, when Barry suggested other suspects, like Melinda or David, he seems not to recognize that he seems to be doing the very thing he is explaining that is supposed to indicate a person is guilty. He thought Suzanne and someone named Kurt may have been having an affair, and he said he never looked at her phone because he did not want to lose her trust, but she looked at his phone all the time. He said Suzanne had the body of a 30-year-old and they, meaning women, give us sex, and that's all we ever want or need. Barry said, "I guarantee you the tech from my truck and my phone will exactly match my interviews because I know for a fact what I've done." We're going to end it there. There is more where this came from. We are 26 pages into a 129-page report. I'm going to go through before the next episode, take out anything repetitive. I really do like doing comparisons of variations in interviews with suspects. So I may do an episode where I just get all of those together and we hammer those out. Another thing to notice too is so typical of narcissistic people to blame everybody but themselves. And every single episode that we've done on this case so far, it's always Suzanne's fault. It's her cancer. It's her alcohol and drug use. She didn't apologize for the text that morning. Narcissists are such dangerous people. And it's a good reminder, if you are in an abusive relationship, there is help and you need to get out while you can. Abusive relationships never get better. They only get worse, and God forbid you become a story that we cover here. I want to give you a phone number for the hiding place. This is a toll-free number you can call from anywhere in the country. My best friends, Fruit Loop and Brienne, run this place with their whole hearts, and they are there to serve. They can get you to resources in your local areas and get you to safety. 24/7 hotline, 888-341-9568. I'm so proud of the work these ladies are doing to save lives, and they have saved numerous lives since they have launched. That is it for today. Hope you guys have a good rest of your afternoon, and we will see you soon.